Last year's elections were graced with the ambiguity of providing academic certificates as a prerequisite for the electoral process. Now, it shouldn't really be a big issue providing your academic certificates, let alone we should have classmates. I think ideally that is the bone of contention in today's debate. We have Kiambu High School Senior versus Nova Pioneer Tatu Girls Senior, and the motion reads, academic degrees should be a prerequisite for public service and electoral positions in Kenya. I will read the motion again. Academic degrees should be a prerequisite for public service and electoral positions in Kenya. First speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes on stage.
Learning is not attained by chance. It must be sought for with ardor and diligence. Nicole Wangoi strongly proposing the motion that states academic degree should be a prerequisite for public service and electoral positions in Kenya. So what is an academic degree? This is a qualification awarded to students upon successful completion of a course of study in higher education, usually at a college or university. So what is a prerequisite? This is a thing that is required as a prior condition for something else to happen or exist. So in this case, the prerequisite here is the academic degree. So what are public services? Examples of people who are in public services, these are doctors, lawyers, teachers, or rather, people who you would not want to offer you services without a degree. And why do I say this? I'm going to explain later. Electoral positions in Kenya are the positions that we as citizens vote for. So this would be the president, deputy president, governor, senator, member of county assembly, and women representative. So the side opposition would probably come and bring out an argument of a long time ago, or like even leaders before would be in public services and would not have the degree, but they would have the necessary education. So I give you a picture. I come knocking on your door and tell you, I want to be a doctor in your institution. So here's this, I tell you, I have the education. I do not have the degree, but I have the education. I have the necessary education for me to actually work here. You hire me. So how would you know that I lied to you and I actually don't have the degree? Is it when I give someone the wrong prescription and they die? Or if I'm a lawyer and I'm in a court proceeding and you realize, oh, this lawyer actually is unaware of the laws and acts and bills that they actually need to know because they don't have the necessary education. What am I saying? I'm saying a degree is a qualification awarded to students upon successful completion of a course of study. What does that mean? For you to be given this degree, you would have to have gone to this particular institute, done this particular course in this particular field of study, and actually mastered the content enough for you to be able to do a paper and actually be awarded the qualification, which in this case is the degree. So hear me out. And a president, for example, his most nagging problem isn't whether his family is going to eat that night. It's the hunger problems that affect the whole country, which affect a whole mass of people. So would you want your president to not you actually realize this person does not have the education because they did not present the degree and we just assume they have the education. So as I end my speech, I'm actually excited to hear what side opposition has to say, given the fact that just like me, they're in their uniforms, struggling to complete this secondary level and go to universities and actually get degrees that we deem also unimportant. Thank you.
First speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
A bad workman blames his tools. I go by the name Robert Moi from the great Kiambu High School. The motion for today, academic degree should be a prerequisite for public service and electoral positions in Kenya, which I am strongly against. Ladies and gentlemen, what is mostly needed to provide social services is not academic degree, but rather it's the technical abilities and the leadership skills. Now, looking on to proposition team, they've talked about how they've given a case study of a doctor coming over, claiming to have the qualifications but no papers. Here, we can clearly see that they are trying to actually side with us. As you see, we are not saying that these degrees are useless. We are saying that they are not a must. She has actually pointed out that these degrees are helpful, yet how many people in Kenya are still in their governmental positions with no degrees? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the level of education of the political class is not the key to progress. Leadership has never been defined by academic excellence. If this were the case, the 12th Kenyan Parliament from 2017 to 2022, which boasted 15 PhD holders and more than 130 MPs with master's degree, would have been the best Kenya witnessed, but that was not the case. As seen where former President Uhuru Kenyatta graduated with a degree in political science and economics. Mind you, he has an academic degree, yet he ruthlessly whipped Parliament from State House in situations like, let's take the impeachment of the former Kiambu governor, Ferdinand Waititu, and Nairobi governor Gideon Sonko. See, they had approved of the impeachment, yet there was still a motion to impeach Anne Waiguru, the Kirinyaga governor, yet she was not impeached. Why? Because she happened to be on the correct side. Seeing Nairobi governor and Kiambu governor, they were on the wrong side with the State House. I'm trying to say that since Uhuru manipulated the parliament to do as his whimsical please, we can clearly see that it doesn't need somebody with an academic degree to know what is right in such cases. You'd obviously think about Anne Waiguru's motion for impeachment more critically, but even if you have a degree or not, you'll still go with what everyone else is saying. Why? Because you don't want to lose your job, according to the former president's decision. Now, let's take a case study of Soita Shitanda, who was once a housing minister who wanted to run for a gubernatorial seat but was rejected on account of holding degrees that were not recognized in Kenya by UDF, United Democratic Forum. However, he switched camps to Newford, Kenya, where his same papers were found credible. And therefore, he vied for the gubernatorial seat in Kakamega County. Now, what does that tell you about this proposal that academic degrees should be a prerequisite? I go by the name Robert Mwai, and that is my case there. Thank you.
Second speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
The role of the public service and the electoral body is to propel the country forward and guide its development. My first point is that these people who are going to guide our development should have this said degree, this degree that should be accredited to a credible institution so that they can guide us because of the connections that they possess. When you go into an institution of higher education, there's many people who are in that institution who have qualified to be in that institution, and they're in many different categories, they're studying many different courses. So these people have many connections, and they generally occupy strategic positions in the different sectors of the economy, according to Statista. That is why we should have these people in these positions, because these people already have connections. So if I'm a governor, and I need an app that is going to help me to get the requirements of the people in my country, I'm going to go to someone who was in my university, who got a degree in computer science, and ask them to build for me this app, to build for me this application, so that I may be able to get the required needs of my people. I'd like to continue by rebutting their point where they said that the people will have academic excellence. People should just hold degrees. We didn't say they should have a first-class honors in the degree. They should just have the degrees to show that they have the necessary skills that is required for them to fulfill this role that they are meant to be fulfilling. On to my second point, that these degrees that they're going to be holding are going to be credible, and they are going to give them credibility, and they're going to give them discipline. By the time you sit down and do a course, you are a disciplined person. You're a disciplined person who has gone from kindergarten to primary to secondary, who has gotten the required qualifications for you to be able to carry on that degree and take it through all the way. So that means that we have leaders who have discipline, and they have the values that we require, because these degrees encompass projects. By the time you do a project, you're able to work within a team. These leaders are able to work within a team, and they're able to have the teamwork that is required in the running of the government. And I'd like to highlight on what our first proposer said, that it's not only the leaders, it's also the public service workers, which includes doctors. Tell me, if in your sound mind you have had a heart attack and you need open heart surgery, you're going to allow someone who does not hold a degree to operate on you. You're going to put your hands in someone who does not have the required skills and the required qualifications to operate on you. You're going to put your life in their hands. Certainly not. On to my third point, which is that it decreases unemployment, because it decreases the increased rates of unemployment of university graduate students according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The unemployment rates of university graduate students stand at 52.4% and a long-time unemployment rate of 27.9%. So if we do not require these people to have these degrees, then anybody can get into office. While these people who have the required qualifications, they have the required discipline, they have the required values, are not getting these, they're not getting these jobs to be able to sustain their families and improve the economy of the country. Hence, our leaders, our public service workers, our doctors, our lawyers, our teachers, these very ones who are in our classrooms, should be required to have a degree in order to take the positions that they take. Thank you. Marinate on that.
Second speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Academic degree should be a prerequisite for public services and electoral positions in Kenya. This is our motion for today. Bill Gregory from Kiambu High School, here to strongly oppose the motion. At first, if you just think about it, just for a second, was she trying to tell us that people without the academic degree can't offer us high-quality services? Our own Kenyan history will disagree with that. An example, Tom Mboya never had a degree, but was on the verge of becoming a great Kenyan president. He led into negotiations, into independence in the Lancaster, and was the first Secretary General of KANU, showing that even people without academic degrees can lead Kenya into diplomacy, public services too. Let's try to take another modern perspective. Our own Fred Matiang'i. Formerly, he was put into education. Now, he's retired, but he was put into national security. But how sure are you he studied for the both of them? You know, there are some people in the government right now, if we try to check the history of it all, there are some people in the government right now, including the National Assembly, who are still in their seats, but do not even have a single academic degree. What if we try to impose this? Wouldn't that affect about 20 to 30% of the government operations? Let's try to take about that into our heads. As our own Kenyan field of politics, we can try to think about this. According to the KTN News, February 16, 2017, a study done in our state, universities churning out individuals who were employable but did not have the requireable skills were put in. Most diplomas and degrees in both private and public institutions may be recalled. Some universities had non-accredited programs which are not recognized in the government of Kenya. So what if this person had the higher skills than a person who studied for that case? Does that mean you're going to deny him or her a chance into trying to serve Kenya? What if they could do a better job?
Team Proposition have been asked the question, what role does academic degrees play in promoting patriotism, which is key in delivering public service? Team Opposition have been questioned on what system or criteria they're using to validate the credibility of people that they stage have the same credentials or skill sets as people who have degrees and those ones who don't have degrees. Third speaker from Team Proposition, you have 3 minutes. Please take the stage.
Let's start. So the question posed to us was how having a degree would influence patriotism in the country. So the late Magoha had a 95-page CV. How does that make you feel as an individual? Proud of your country to have an individual of such stature, of such credibility. Personally, I'm proud. Secondly, they talked about Matiang'i and the fact that he moved from education to security. Yes, he has a degree, but who says that the degree caters for both dockets? Matiang'i was able to record
the minimum amount of theft in examinations during his reign as the Cabinet Secretary of Education, which explains why he found himself in security, because he might as well help security if he can help education. He can help the country as a whole. I would like to emphasize on the points of my team. So, we talked about unemployment. Do we really want people who went to school, paid school fees, incurred all years to acquire this degree, not to be employed on the basis of, I woke up today, I feel like a doctor, I have the education, as they said, I can be a doctor, I can be a teacher. Would you be proud to sit in a classroom with a teacher with no degree? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, they talked about a prerequisite. A degree should not be a prerequisite. So what should be? What's their criteria? They have not brought to us the model that they're talking about that's better than having a degree. They're saying that, oh, we've been a country where we are leaning on an academic degree as a prerequisite. What are the fruits we've bared? You can't talk. We've moved a lot in these 59 years of independence. Sorry to say if you didn't know. We have moved a lot. And we are going to move a lot. And we are not ready to take the risk to make it, to declare a degree, not a prerequisite, on the basis of we are leaving people out. This makes a filter to have the adequate people, the people who have the required resources, the required credibility to have a certain position. They talked about teamwork. In a parliament, you have to work together. You don't go there and rely on yourself. When you're acquiring a degree, you get to sit together and work on projects, which builds teamwork as a skill. Personally, I think I would like to have such a skill. They talked about corruption and having the required connections and something of the sort, which I did not understand where that is related to having a degree. Thank you. Proud to oppose Joya Sava.
Third speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
I go by the name Patrick Njoroge Ngugi from the great Kiambu High School, readily to oppose the motion that goes by academic degree should be a prerequisite for public service and elected positions in Kenya. We debaters over here, most of them have dwelled in electoral position in Kenya and the politics. But let us go and look on to the public service. Do we consider military men as public service? Yes. Do you want to tell me if we decide to say the military men who protect our country day and night while we are asleep, assure of peace in our country, for them to all qualify for degrees? Yes? Do you know how long it will take for you to earn yourself a degree? By that time, who will be serving and protecting us during the night, during the day, our peace? I want also to answer the question, how we will prove that people who do not have degrees have skills. I want to tell you, if you are passionate to do something, if you are passionate to get something or you are passionate to acquire something, it is obvious you will go to learn how it is done. My father told me that I will never give you fish forever, but I will teach you how to fish. I will go and earn the skills. I'll go and earn what is required. But is it a must for me to show that paper? How many of doctors we have had in cases that they have the degree, yes, but they have provided poor services? Yes? How many people have died in Kenyatta Hospital with the same doctors with degrees due to unqualified skills? Tell me, how many people do we have out there offering services with degrees, but they are not quality? Tell me. I would like also to safety my seatbelt, for I think the pilot in this plane has a degree but no skills. The doubt about academic credentials undermine the integrity clause in Kenya's 2010 constitution. This is a discriminatory act that you are telling us to pose upon the citizens of our country, Kenya. We have said we have come from far, whereby you are telling us that only people can get elected are people with degrees. What are you trying to say? Many of us are trying to get degrees, yes, but we are not able. Then we understand leadership comes from God or Allah to our Muslim sisters and brothers. So where do we need to discriminate them and undermine them? I want to say, in a nutshell, what am I trying to say? A degree doesn't qualify you to provide a better skill or to become a better leader. And I rest my case.
Team proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Jomo Kenyatta, Daniel Arap Moi, Nyayo philosophy, Harambee philosophy. It's effective. They both hold degrees. He led us to independence. And we want us to throw that model away for a model that you have not given us. You've not given us anything. You've only given us suggestions. You've not given us any arguments. You're just suggesting to us. And we have a model that is working. And that is why we should be with side proposition. Tom Boyer did, in fact, undertake an inspector's course in Royal Sanitary Institute in Kabete. So he is a degree holder and responsible for sessional paper number 10. And that is why we are where we are in this country. And as I said, the main goal of a developing country, that is Kenya, is to develop. So why are we going backwards when the means of development include the increased levels of literacy and education? Why are we going backwards to give people who have not gotten this education the place instead of these people who have education? Let me remind you that vocational education still counts as an academic degree. Hence, these military officers should go to these tertiary institutions to get this education that we need. And with that, I'd like to tell you that an academic degree should in fact be a prerequisite, because it already is a prerequisite. And we're not going to throw that away for suggestions that side opposition has decided to come and blind us with. And with that, we should side with side proposition. We are landing safely, and the destination is side proposition, where we need an academic degree for us to hold electoral positions and work in the public service.
Team opposition, closing remarks, you have 1 minute.
Hey, hold on your horses. Let me explain to you. We are not just suggesting. We are not just suggesting. Yeah? We are here to make solutions. Yeah? Where can't we mix these people, the educated and uneducated? God brought us here with a reason, with a purpose to serve these people of Kenya. Don't say we are just suggesting. Be keen in listening to what we are saying. I also have my people. We have Winston Churchill. We have George Washington. We have Abraham Lincoln. Even if they are not from Kenya, these guys have been successful politically or in their areas. Why can't we bring that to Kenya? Why do we need to undermine these people without academic credentials or academic degrees, so as to say? And I don't know what you are saying. We have people like Snoligostas. These are people who are not guided by principles. Why do you need to be a Snoligoster where you have that degree, but you're not guided by principle? Why do you need to take that position, but you're not guided by principles? So what I'm trying to say, academic degree doesn't qualify that you have the skills or you are qualified to do a certain service. I rest my case.
A lot of you are great speakers, and when we look at your style and presentation, you score very highly. When you look at your mastery of language, you're scoring very well. When you look at your passion and conviction, very well. But when it comes now to the mastery of topic, and that's where we are checking on, do you have evidence? Have you studied this enough? That's why we are beginning to lose marks, which affects how you're arguing then. You understand? And so we have great speakers here. That's why I'm saying you've scored very well in terms of those areas. But what about the evidence of what you're talking about? For example, I think the first time I heard something about this not being a prerequisite, I think it's Robert who brought in the element of technical ability and leadership skills, which was an amazing one from Kiambu. And I thought that's what you should have hammered and give us proper examples of how people with just technical skills and leadership skills have done immensely well in leadership. In fact, I can even think of one right now. The famous Bob Collymore, God rest his soul in peace. He never even had a degree, but he was leading the most profitable company in the country. Where are those examples? I think I only heard it from, was it Patrick? This is you, right? Patrick, you're the one who at least mentioned some of those guys, the presidents from which other sides. But these things were coming a bit late. You understand? So you want to give now examples. If you have taken the position of saying it's technical ability and leadership skills, hammer it with examples. You would have won this flat with high marks. You get it? Now let me come to Nova. You guys, I feel you also have a higher end of things. Because I think there was an accusation that was made, which was very weak. I think it was actually by Robert, who said that some members of parliament and government positions that don't have degrees, and yet we know there is no member of parliament that doesn't have a degree as we speak now. It's a prerequisite in parliament. You did not cross-examine that, so you let it pass. You know? So that tells us also your research was not well done, because that would have been nice to knock them down. So what we are trying to say here on this table is that we're seeing low-level research, that even in our own country where we know that there is a law that these are prerequisites for members of parliament, you guys don't know yet, and we are here in this country. So what's my position? I think they could have done better, and I think to Nova as well, one more thing I could say, that the ability of a degree is not even just being an expert in that particular area, but it also gives you cross-functional skills. Because in institutions of higher learning, you just don't learn that. You learn critical thinking, you learn problem solving, all those kind of areas that gives you those abilities. We did not hear this. Where was all this, guys?
I think we have amazing feedback from the judges, and we'll go straight to the results. Nova Girls Senior, the judges have awarded you 68.2%. A round of applause, please. Kiambu High School, the judges have awarded you 70.5%. And the winners for this debate is Kiambu High School. From our end, we have come to the end of this debate session, and until next time, here at the Debate Circle, it is goodbye from us.